And away we go. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the College Football Mafia Network Big Freakin' Friday show. This is a party show. We welcome everybody being here. I know we've got a bunch of new people that are going to be watching the show tonight. So if you're a frequent member, try to help them out in the comment section. If you see something, they ask a question, you feel free to help them out for us. Anyway, I appreciate everybody being here. It is Friday night. We're a little early, which is good. Try to catch some people before they start doing their other activities. I am Nathan Bomber Brown, and my two partners are the Wild Ute and Moen. How we doing tonight, guys?
Doing fantastic. Hope everyone's doing great.
Yeah,
Georgia Tech to you all.
Georgia Tech.
And then a special guest star that is always welcome on our stage. That would be Flo of Miami, Florida fame. How you doing?
Doing great, bro. Happy to be on with you guys Friday night to see everybody's has their drink and they're ready to go. So
right, yes, yeah. So let's just get that off the top. So there's no questions about how our drinking game works. It's Friday night. Join our drinking game. You take a sip if you hear Syracuse, Georgia Tech. And, of course, those need to be native uses. Awesome. You can't just say it over and over again. We don't count that.
There's no cheating in this game, okay? It's got to be organic.
So that's always that's always available. If you drink, if you don't, then don't. Whatever you do, nobody drives. That's all I care about. All right, let's do some business. First of all, welcome. Make sure you're following all of us on Twitter. Make sure you turn on your notifications on Twitter and YouTube, and subscribe on YouTube. Also, while you're watching the show, give us a thumbs up. It's at the left bottom part of where you're watching the video. It's a little thumb. Hit it, and that really helps us out. Makes us feel like we're important and we're giving you what you guys need. On top of that, Flo has his own show and things that he does. You want to tell everybody where they can find your stuff?
Yeah, it's Miami Flow Football. It's we're on a few times a week. We were talking earlier, not much in the summer other than what we're going to talk about today. But we talk college football, mainly Miami based, but we get into it all, honest to God. And if you love football, come watch us.
And it's a great show. So I encourage everybody to get over there and do that. He's here to help us sort of wade through what's going on with the ACC. Miami is included in that. Miami, Clemson, Florida State, and I would put Louisville. Those are the top four, I think, on my list. And what's going to happen next. We're going to get into that. I've got all kinds of news and everything. But I want to start off with a poll I ran over the last 2 days. Let me share this. Hide my secret chats. Let me share this screen. So this got 284 votes, which, on Twitter isn't too bad. This is kind of what my question was. Like, can you guys, nope, it's not there. Can you guys see that? All right, here we go. My updated estimations for what is next with the FSU Clemson based on most recent reports. Now, I will couch this and say that I did this before the latest news that came out yesterday with Ross Dellinger. So there is a little bit of a time lapse there, but I'm not going to change the results. The four options are go to the SEC at a half share. I think they've lost all their negotiating power. I will be surprised if they can even get a half share. So that's just me, my personal opinion. We'll talk about it in a second. Second option was ACC, stay there, suck it up, and build your relationships with these other conferences. That takes time, and see kind of where that goes. So basically, a little humble pie, but you don't have to pay an exit fee. You don't have to do those other things. I would also add to that, I wouldn't drop the legal charge. So I would keep the lawsuits going. I just would not at all pay the exit fee and just stay. That's a business decision to just stay in the ACC. The other two was go to the Big 12. I put in there that might be a holding place only for 5 or 6 years. So I put a holding location, 20, 30, 31. So that's the third option. And then, of course, going to the Big 10, which is, I know, their first goal to start out with, but now we're hearing that sort of tailed off a little bit. So first of all, I'm going to go through you guys. Did you see the poll, and what did you guys think about some of this feedback we're seeing here? You go ahead and start.
Yeah, not surprised at all that this got so much engagement. I mean, this is the talk of the town right now. Where the heck are Florida State and Clemson going to go? This is crazy, guys. Like, you hear everything from every area, every corner. The wind's blowing left, it's blowing right, up and down. Seriously, every type of speculation imaginable is going on right now. It's all fun. It's all legitimate, good talk, too. And really, we're going to examine it pretty good today. But as you can see here, the poll results, Big 12 won in this poll results. I actually voted in this poll, and I voted for the Big Ten. So I still think that's a landing spot for these two. But it is good discussion for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ute. What do you think, Moen?
I voted SEC.
Okay. And you
They're
want to explain
SEC
any of that?
They're SEC schools. They fit the SEC footprint. They fit the SEC culture. Those are SEC schools.
Okay. That's very simple. Thank you, Moen. And what do you think, Flo? So I'm not sure you saw the poll. I didn't.
Yeah, I see.
Did you see it? Okay.
No.
What do you think about the options and kind of where the data turned out?
I mean, at the end of the day, again, we're all speculating.
Of course.
It's about money at the end of the day, right? So I would be shocked if they go and take half of, plus their exit fee, plus all the legal fees.
Right.
I think the Big 12 for 4 or 5 years, and then see what happens after that. It would make the most sense currently with the data, with the information that's out there. It's the one that makes the most sense. Now, I'm really happy to be on your show because there's so much out there that people, I know this and I know that because we saw this would happen in court today. We all know, everyone that has a half a brain knows this is going to get settled out, right? So it's going to come down to money at the end of the day. And everyone is raising money. So when you raise a lot of money, you have more options at the end of the day, right? So something that doesn't make sense today to us can make perfect sense in a week. Look how aggressive the Big 12 commissioner is being right now.
Right.
Three months ago, that poll would have been a joke.
Right.
3 months ago.
Yep.
And now it's a very valid poll. So let's see how it plays out. I think you guys know, and like I kind of know too. We're about to get some shake, real soon. So let's see how it shakes out.
Yeah, Flo, on Monday of this week, that poll would have been a joke. Like, let's be right. That's how fast things move, and that's how fast the information moves. And one thing leads to a lot of speculation, a lot of momentum, and it's fun and everything. But you have to really think through this and stuff, and what makes sense and what doesn't, and cut through the crap, look at the data and everything. So, totally with you there.
I think from a common sense perspective, if you're going to leave, you're not going to take humble pie to stay in the ACC. You're going to jump.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would question on this is, why would they leave at all? Nothing is forcing them to leave today. The moment they're leaving, not only are they committed, there's really no going back, meaning if they lose the judgment, they're going to be paying hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's my outstanding question coming out of this is, what is the urgency? Can you guys tell me what the urgency is for them to leave right now? And when I say right now, I'm going to say between now and the football season.
I would say relationships. I mean, they've burned so many relationships now. I mean, just think about how can they stay in a conference where you've destroyed everything, you've sued the conference, There's no stability there. There's no getting that back. I don't know how you can get that back ever. And so they've gone down a path that you can't return from. So there's just no going back. So ACC, staying in the ACC just can't be an option for that. Like, how are you going to make amends to that situation? When you tried to sue them, try to get out, everybody knows you want to get out and stuff. How are you going to kiss and make up from that? I just don't really see that being a viable option at all. So the urgency is created by Florida State. And the urgency is, as Flo said, it's about the money. The money gap is hitting next year with the new media deals hitting for the Big Ten. And so we are starting to see that. We haven't even seen it historically. Last year, football season hadn't really come up, but it's going to start showing its face this coming football year. And it's going to be very evident stuff, and they're fighting against it.
Really quick before I get to you, Flo, I want to get a little bit of business done. First of all, we've got a member that's been with us for 4 months, very loyal. Thank you, Adam. Adam Ontiveros has been with us 4 months. He's Texas Tech fan, and he says hi. Thank you so much for being here, Adam. It's great to see you. Missed you on my live show last night. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then right now and here, what's this, Moen?
Ricky Tungate has gifted 1 membership to the College Football Mafia, and it went to Miss Razorback Jamie Thornton. Thank you so much for the gift, Ricky.
Very cool.
Much appreciated. That makes you a winner in our book.
Yes.
Winner.
Excellent. The other thing I would add to that is Ricky is a recent gift receiver himself.
Mhm.
He's turned around and he's paying it forward. That's what we encourage everybody to do. If you get a gift membership, turn around and give somebody else one so they have access to all of our members only videos and shows. And that's how this thing gets going, right? It's a big deal for us. So thank you very much, Ricky. I wanted to make sure we got to you next. All right, so Flo, let's drill down on you just basically laid out the business part of it, right? You're Miami and you haven't declared anything. You're just sitting there waiting essentially to see what happens. If they came back to you, if Alfred showed up in Miami and he had a talk with I don't know who your AD is, but why, and said, I need your help to come back to the ACC. Is that even possible?
No, I mean, again, for everybody else, I can only go by what I read or,
sure.
Kind of we try to, but as far as Miami goes, we've been preparing for this for about a year and a half.
Okay.
It's no coincidence that our president went to UCLA officially a month ago.
Right.
And the guy that took over happens to be the guy that handles all the money for the medical department and the football department.
Yeah, Rock and Rant mentioned that too.
Yeah. It's actually a massive move that they did it publicly before all this hit the fan. We knew it was coming behind the scenes and why it was coming. You're just aligning yourself with the money to be ready to make a move, right? For us, it's simple. We don't want none of the smoke. We don't want none of the static. Right. We want to we love the ACC. We're great. We're happy to be members, but we know that that's a bunch of garbage, at the end of the day. And just like they reported there's third-party talks between Clemson and listen, everybody's talking right now. Everybody's talking.
That shouldn't have been informational, right? We've all assumed that they were talking third party. Nobody said it official.
And I agree with Mo, and like the whole SEC thing with Florida State and Clemson, I think is much more real than maybe that report is. Because at the end of the day, I love to take shots at Florida State clearly because I'm a Miami fan. But if we're just being honest and neutral, right? They didn't go into this suit without thinking this through. There was a reason why they wanted to jump out in front, like you asked earlier. And now Clemson's involved, who's a very, you look at Clemson, they're white collar, everything's great. Like, oh, they're involved too. The private money that are backing these schools, they can withstand this. They're betting on that they're gonna get a good settlement out of this. Whether it happens or not, that's a different story. But what it did for us, and it did for like maybe a North Carolina. It allows us to not have to do anything except prepare from a financial standpoint and have those third-party talks with an SEC, a Big 10, a Big 12, right? Or an ACC that's revamped. Who knows how that's going to be.
Right.
But I don't know when you said, I don't know if I agree on the part where it's like all the relationships are burnt. It's about, look.
Well, I don't know that that's true. What I said, we're hearing things about the relationship.
They are, but like, listen, like my man said, it's about the money. And no one's really bringing up ESPN a lot in this. And I think ESPN is going to have a massive say on how this plays out, And we know from digging that ESPN has been behind the scenes for the last month and a half, trying to revamp things, trying to see the different options they have. Who knows? Who knows how this ends up? I mean, I personally don't want to stay in the ACC after all this garbage, you know?
Right.
I would love to go to the Big Ten. I've said this to you on your show and a bunch of shows. Everyone's like, where do you want to go? I want to go to the Big Ten. That's where I want to go. But I want to do whatever is best for us. I don't want to go to the Big Ten and take half.
That's fair. That's a good question.
I don't want to do that. I'd rather go to the Big 12 where we're more of a commodity, right? And then make a decision after like 5 years. Us in the SEC, I don't see happening at all. We just complete opposites.
Right.
But the main thing that I feel is important to talk about this is the schools that are in question are commodities.
Yes, absolutely.
We're not talking about Wake Forest or Boston College. Like Clemson is Clemson. Florida State is Florida State. I mean, Miami has the brand still. North Carolina is a good brand too. Like, I think all three conferences would want them from a financial standpoint now. Who's going to give up the most? Like you said in the beginning of it, when you said, are they going to take half? Are they going to take less than half. Like that's where, to me, you have a landing spot regardless. It's which one hurts the least. I mean, that's what I think it's going to come down to when all said and done. And I want to see what ESPN does publicly within the next 10 to 14 days. I'm hearing some stuff that ESPN is going to make an announcement on something. So that's that. I think that may switch how fast maybe a settlement comes or how that works out.
Moen, those are your favorite words. In 2 weeks, ESPN's talking maybe settlement. Maybe they walk away from the ACC deal. What do you think?
Maybe they do walk away from the ACC deal. They dropped a bunch of money on NBA rights.
Yep.
Turner Broadcasting's looking for stuff out there. The ACC could find a home there. But ultimately, I think what I want to put out there is I think Notre Dame is steering the bus on all.
Yeah. Yep.
I think Notre Dame greases the skids for a lot of teams. So $350 million, that gives you've got to make Oregon and Washington whole. You can't leave them out there at half shares. So that allows them to bring in one or two partners. So Stanford's going to be
jumps.
Yeah. So Stanford's going to be one. It's who's going to be the second.
Okay.
Might it be Miami? Might it be Catholics versus convicts?
That'd be great.
Well, nobody's going to turn down Notre Dame if they're going to come. Obviously, they're the one wild card that's out there. They're not going to do anything that isn't Notre Dame driven.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you guys have discussed this on the show. I do watch the show. I don't catch all of them, but I watch the show. And I like it because you guys are valid with what you say. You don't just take shit out of the air. Excuse my language, and just make it over. Have you guys discussed the independent part for Florida State becoming independent?
We did. We have.
Because that's something. I was on a Zoom yesterday with some people that from whatever that would know some stuff from Miami, and they brought up that these are people that really don't make up a bunch of stuff like that they might just go independent, like for real. I heard a rumor of it like 2 months ago that they might do that, but it came back up from people that actually know a lot more than I know. And I'm wondering what your thoughts on what if FSU would just say, you know what, we'll go independent for a year, maybe two, until this shakes out or until, we can figure out a settlement that makes sense or something like that. What are your thoughts on that? Like, would that be a power move or do you think that would be just like an SOS move?
Sorry, Moen. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I brought this up early on Moen After Dark on Sunday. So my thoughts on it are, if you can get a broadcast partner to pay you $50 million a year, do a scheduling agreement with maybe even the ACC, similar to what Notre Dame does, and says we'll do a scheduling agreement with you as part of our settlement. You could make $60-70 million a year. Yep. Turner Broadcasting is desperate for sports. I'm sure they'd love a flagship brand to hold down TBS like they did with the Braves. So maybe. I mean, it's a possibility out there. It's just the scheduling portion on such short notice is what's going to be rough. Biggest hurdle.
So with everything you do, with every decision, business decision, life decision, it's always wise to start with the end in mind before you make a decision.
Right.
What's the plan?
Yep.
So if you go independent, you better be banking on getting a P2 invite in 5 or 6 years or less. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a P2 invite today, what makes you think that that's going to come in 5 or 6 years? That's the thing I would push back on, saying like, what changes in 5 or 6 years of you and your independence? Can you lift your brand even more? Ask BYU how hard it was to be independent. Just hard, huh?
Yeah,
exactly. Like, so I would actually argue that your brand would lessen instead of grow, and you'd have an even harder time getting into the P2. So I just don't think that is a very wise decision to go independent at all, because you don't have a guaranteed landing spot at the end of the day.
Independence to me, I look at all the options. Like that was one of the things. I didn't have an option 5 to go independent, but it would have been on there. I think anything's an option until it's not. So it is absolutely something they have to be whiteboarding, right? Sure. They have to figure out what's the cost benefit analysis. We move, what does it cost us? What do we get? And then what's the end return? So the way I look at this is very pragmatic. Why go independent and have to go through all that crap it takes to become independent, build a communications building, hire multimedia people? It's not just like we're going independent. BYU invested over $50 million over 11 years in independence, supporting media and all that stuff. So in my opinion, if you're going to basically have that money going out one way or the other, the easiest choice for me is just go to the Big 12. Give yourself in your contract, give yourself an out if they get a phone call, after 4 years. This is the separation agreement, and build it in. Don't build it in with unrealistic expectations. Anybody assuming they join the Big 12 and they're going to be there forever today they don't know what they're talking about. Now, could they stay in the Big 12? Could they like it and decide they want to stay there? And now we have a P3. That's also a possibility.
Okay.
I want to bring something up that is going to be very controversial, but if I'm Florida State, I'm thinking about this heavy, guys. Okay. This hasn't been discussed a lot. I'm shocked about it, actually. Okay. So here, let's lay out the Florida State game plan. Best case scenario is a P2 invite. We all know that. You do whatever it takes to get a P2 invite, whether that's 100% or 50% share. No brainer, jump over, get it done. Hey, if that's not there, then I talk with the Big 12, and the Big 12, I'm going to ask for a lot more money than the existing members are making, like your Utahs and BYUs and stuff. And if I can work that out, then I'm going to consider that heavy. And if that's not an option because the Big 12 pushes back on that, then I'm going back to the drawing board, and it's not staying in the ACC. I don't think there's any way to stay in the ACC. I get serious about dissolving the ACC and forming a best of the rest conference. And you've heard Ross Dellinger even speak of it, how Florida State's considering taking a smaller amount of ACC schools. You can't kick schools out of a conference, but you can take a bunch of schools and leave a conference and dissolve a conference.
And guess what?
And guess what? If they go best of the rest, who do you think they're going to be trying to pull schools from, guys? To add to the best of the rest conference. If they pull 9 schools from the ACC, disband 9 schools, they're going to try to poach the Big 12.
Of course they are.
Yes.
Of course.
So form a 16-team conference with the best of the Big 12 teams. That's exactly, if I'm Florida State, that's A, B, and C plan. I don't know if any of them are going to work, but that's probably the best route. But best of the rest conference has to be a consideration for sure for them.
The only way you can make that work, one, Notre Dame has to sign on. Can't do anything without Notre Dame's blessing. Keep the same arrangement. They play, but they're not permanent members. And then the other thing, you have to look at chancellors and presidents and tell them, we're sorry, but you're out. Those are very difficult. We know how difficult those conversations are. But is it a possibility? Absolutely. Nothing should be off the table.
Nothing should be off the table. And I'm not sure you need Notre Dame in that conference either. I mean, Notre Dame's probably not going to be in your future if you're Florida State, unless you're in the Big 10. Notre Dame can go and do what they're going to do and everything. I know it'd be nice to have Notre Dame, but it's not a necessary thing. And so if you're going to pull a best of the rest, you have to get Cal on board, though, and Cal and Stanford. We'll see what happens with Stanford and Notre Dame. But a West wing there to pair with Big 12 teams, that is a way to do it.
We're trying to talk about too many things that make sense. And on a lot of stuff that's happened has not made any sense. I mean, if you think about it, right?
Right.
Clearly you're like, oh, Notre Dame, Big 10, duh. But, I mean, again, we have some of these conversations a few years ago about the Pac-12. We would be like, yeah, get out of here. You're telling me that, UCLA's in the Big 10 now. Whether you would have laughed at me. I also push back a little bit on the independent thing and as far as a landing spot. I think it depends on the brand. I think all the major brands are going to have landing spots. I really believe that. Not because I don't like the ACC. So I know we're in the ACC, but just for the record, I don't like the ACC. Mm-hmm. So please let me make sure I get that out of the way. But Florida State's Florida State. Clemson is Clemson. They're relative. These brands are not like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. They're going to have landing spots. I think the teams that are in deep crap are the ones from the middle to not even the middle. After you get past the top 4 or 5, I think that's where it gets interesting as far as landing spots. Right. I don't see a world where the Big 10 or the SEC would not want a Clemson, a Florida State, North Carolina, a Miami, because it doesn't make sense because we got to take making sense out, in my opinion. Because we really do. Think about it, Yeah. So I feel like whatever we think is going to happen, we might have got some of it right, and some of it we're going to be like, what? Because last time I checked, right now Cal and Stanford are in the ACC. Are you joking me? That makes sense. How does that make sense? SMU paid to join the conference.
Right.
Are you what are we talking about? Right? We can't make sense. I really, again, like my man said, SEC should be for Florida State and Clemson, but because it makes sense, I don't think it's going to happen. Everything that's happening is about money, and I think again, ESPN is going to have something to say whether they do dissolve and they try to do another little separate conference, which is another rumor that like you guys brought up that's been out there. Yeah. I really believe in my heart that it's going to come down to once someone jumps ship, we're going to start seeing all the real conversations that happened.
Yes,
not the speculation. The ones that were speculating.
We need the Colorado equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado broke the dam, and then everything that happened was wide open, not hidden any longer. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. Before we moved on to another item, do you want to touch any more on this, guys? Moen, you want to add anything to what we're saying? All right. And by the way, we didn't talk about a time for you to get out of here, Flo. So if you need to go, just let me know and we'll get you out. I don't want to keep you longer than you want to.
No, man, I can hang out for a little bit, man. I'm having a good time with you guys.
Oh, great. Well, if you're having a good time, we're having a good time. All right. Let me get to some of the other news. So if you're following all the stuff legal that's going on with the ACC, Florida State, and I got to get rid of that banner. Sorry. With Florida State and Clemson suing the ACC, and what's going on there? Essentially, these legal battles are going to go on forever. The Clemson ACC won one the other day. Clemson won one today, and they're just going to be going back and forth. One thing that has changed the dynamic, and that's what I want to talk about, is now both Clemson and Florida State have access to all the media deals, and Florida State actually has more access to even older ones, like going back decades. Do I all three of you, I don't care, care or think that is going to be a concrete thing, like it's going to affect change?
Go ahead, Moan.
I don't think it's going to affect change at all.
Okay.
I think it depends what is on the, they blacked out the stuff on the one for the Clemson one. I think it depends on what was blacked out for the one for Florida State. If it's all the same, if it's nothing, oh my God, changing, then who cares?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Ute, what do you think?
I think it's all about perception, public perception. I don't think it can get much worse. It's bad enough as is. But I think with Florida State, I think that there's a chance for a leak because they're going to have access to that document. Yeah. And all of a sudden, maybe when the ACC is getting some wins, if that happens, then you leak some information and causes more momentum. But right now, the wave is coming on the ACC. The momentum's all against them. So they're in a rough position. But that's just for leaking stuff, for leaking information. That's the value of it.
I look at Florida State kind of like West Virginia. I think there's going to be some leaks out of these places. For sure. Yeah.
Oh my God. There's no doubt.
You like that comparison? That is pretty good. Huh? Mark Bowman, a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Mark. We appreciate you being a member. You're a stud and quickly becoming an OG as well. On Sirius XM 84 today, the host wondered the same thing I wondered last night. Why the Big 12 does not consider SMU. Let's quickly go around the table about SMU. I'll tell you my opinion. My opinion is SMU is going to be a monster now that the cap is off and NIL money is available. They're buying 4- and 5-star athletes today, and they're going to be really good. But if you want to talk about them being in a conference, the problem with SMU is everybody looks at them and they don't think they earned where they're at. They essentially bought it. They gave away some, and then they also paid some money for others, and it comes down to respect. So you've followed SMU, Flo. What do you think about that?
I think they're a monster. I agree. I like what you used. Again, for us that have been in college football for a long time, I think it's hard to detach what's happened to what's about to happen.
Yeah.
So as far as who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. NIL and transfer portal changed a lot of programs. If you have money now, you're about to be decent to really good in the very near future. Right. It's just you don't got to like it. It's just the way it is, right? There's no way you're not going to have good players now because SMU's got a faucet they just turn on.
Yep.
And I look, if I was a conference, I'd try to get them because they don't cost me anything. Think about it. I'm in a no-lose situation. If they happen to turn out and get good, I'm getting them for free. at the end of the day, and if they're not, they don't cost me anything anyways, at the end of the day. And I do think they're on the way up. I feel like they're doing the right things there now. We'll see. Everything is potential, but they've been getting good players. I think Rhett Lashley's doing a good job there. They have a soft schedule this year, and they're going to win 8 or 9 games this year in the ACC, which is not saying a lot, but it's their first year in big boy football.
Right.
I do think that I would try to take them for sure. They don't cost me anything.
That's a fair point. Absolutely. What do you think about that?
I think that makes sense from the ACC standpoint, especially the structure of the deal for the ACC getting into Texas. But SMU is in the market where TCU is located already, and they're considered an inferior brand to TCU, Texas, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and a lot of other schools in Dallas. So really the question I would ask for the Big 12, would SMU lift the media value? And I would say no, not at all, because you already own that market. They're not getting big viewership anyway, so I just don't think that it makes much sense because it doesn't add much financial value to the Big 12, but it does for other conferences.
Moen.
Questus per laborum, gains through labor. SMU has not gained anything through labor.
Yes.
It is all money.
Yeah.
And they're smart enough to know what that means in Latin. So
you're gonna have to put that.
I didn't know that.
You're gonna have to make a banner that has that on it that I can pull it up, Moen. I love that. Latin is fun. My kids that went to a school, they all learned Latin. Can you believe that?
Wow.
They can talk it and they write it and read it. It's pretty cool. I don't think they're going to the Big 12. But I hadn't thought about the angle that they might come for free. At the end of the day, though, nobody watches their games. They average like 120,000 people watching each week. That's
terrible.
Deplorable. That does not deserve the respect that, let's be fair, that Miami has earned over a period of 50 years, right? Not at all the same.
Yeah, but you got to I think you got to put some context on that. They haven't played in a conference that anyone would watch anyways. I mean, and they hadn't had a good product. I think it goes back to what I said earlier. We got to be careful, in my opinion, to not look at teams how we used to look at them.
Right.
I think it's changing. I really do. I'm not advocating for SMU. I'm just saying that. Well, hello there. I'm not advocating for SMU. I'm just saying, they're on a different stage now. Who knows what those numbers are going to be, especially if they start. Look, winning cures everything, guys. You know this. You guys are sports fans. Yeah. You could be nobody, and you put 2 or 3 seasons in a row of 9 or 10 wins. Hello, like what's up? I don't see the Big 12 taking up. It's definitely a sweet deal for the ACC. I agree with that. But let's see what kind of numbers they put up in between now and a couple of years. You never know, because at the end of the day, the Big 12 did lose Texas.
Right.
So I don't know. You guys know the numbers in the Big 12 better than me, so I side with you guys.
Yeah, I think the relationships for the Big 12 is number one. The numbers and the media value, all that other stuff is sort of secondary. The relationships between these schools is not
really,
because really, really bad.
From the outside looking in, your commissioner is like a boss.
He is.
Yeah.
He looks like a guy that's like, I'm going to make stuff happen regardless of what you say. I don't care if you like it or you don't like it. We're gonna do this. That's what the outlook looks like.
And I would give you that. I think that's true. Brett Yormark is a monster.
Yeah.
He's that shark that's circling the cage, right? The one thing is, there were other ideas that he wanted to do during realignment last year, notably Gonzaga, notably UConn. He had other ideas, and he tried convincing everybody to go along with him, and nobody did it, because now, of course, we know that's a good choice because realignment isn't basketball driven.
Right.
But there have been things he's tried to do that they haven't let him.
Again, you know him better than I do.
Sure,
I wish we had a guy. I wish we had a commissioner that aggressive.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. It's really the only thing that's separating us right now, I think. Let's see here. Let me get back to where I was. Let's talk about this. Let me bring this up. This is an article. Well, first, I'll slow down. Do you guys have any questions or anything you want to bring up before I bring up my next news article?
Yes, I want to talk about SMU.
Lord.
Winning is everything, but you know what? They should have won in the G5 and earned their spot.
That's
Cincinnati won in the G5 and earned their spot. Houston won in the G5 and earned their spot.
Right.
True.
SMU wanted to earn their spot. They should have won in the G5. They couldn't do it.
Good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think you forget about it though if they win the next 3 years in a row.
Anything's possible,
right?
Like anything's possible.
You don't even care what happened before that. Like, oh, you guys just won 3 years in a row. It doesn't matter if your name is SMUTRW. If you win 9 or 10 games 3 years in a row, you're all of a sudden a commodity in today's football.
I would actually counter and say if the ACC blows up and SMU is in a rump conference and they pick up Washington State and Oregon State, if they win for a couple of years, it'll be a P4 again, right?
Yeah.
But right now, if Big 12 takes between 4 and 8 schools from the ACC that we know right now as a power conference goes away.
I agree.
And now it's a power 3. So
I agree with that 100%. I mean, I'm with you guys. You got to earn it. I mean, I'm old school, but it's just not the way it is anymore. It sucks.
I agree with you.
It's so bad, man.
You bring up some good points, Flo.
You know, I agree. You have to. You have to pay your dues. I agree. But the game has changed. Like not the football game. The actual perception has changed. It's money now. It's money.
I don't disagree.
Yep.
Let's go to our next. This is going to be fun. You guys are going to like this one. I'm going to make it big so everybody can see it. This is an article by Tampa Bay Times, who I finally became a paid member of. This is Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times. He wrote this article yesterday, I believe, and it was answering a question that's come up recently between the ACC and Big 12, and I'm going to bring us back so everybody can see you guys. And from announcement best from podiums, Phillips said we're the number 3 conference, but he qualified it because he was only talking about the football. He didn't put it in total. And then of course Brett Yormark stood up this week at Big 12 Media Days and didn't say it hesitating. He said it was declarative. He said we absolutely are the best, and we're 3rd, and there's nothing else to argue with that. This article is really cool. Let me post the link so everybody knows. We always give credit where credit is due. Matt Baker, I encourage everybody to become members of his article, at least for a few months. You can get 3 months for $3. So, hey, anyway, there's the link. And these are just the points. I'm just going to give you highlights because we did talk about this the other night, but it's still applicable. The first point he brings up is money. Phillips is right when he said the ACC was 3rd in money, but they're separated by about $500,000 only. Mm-hmm. Out of all their money, it's about $500,000. That includes Florida State and Clemson. Now do that math and take Florida State and Clemson out of that. Now what is the conference worth? And then we talked about the 31-7 and, a few other things with money. Moving to the next one, football success. And again, this stands on its own. We know this. Both Clemson and Florida State have won national championships in the last 10, 12 years. So again, they've earned that sort of moniker to be the brands. But again, if they leave the ACC and happen to join the Big 12, now it's lopsided again, right? You guys have any comments about those two things, both the money and the football success?
Let's get to the third.
Okay, third one is future success recruiting. And this is really where he starts putting the hammer down. If those schools leave and go to the Big 12, it raises the recruiting numbers for the Big 12 through the roof. And in doing so, Matt is saying that would raise the recruiting for every other school in the conference. That's his contention in the article. So you want to say anything about that, Ute? You want to mention anything specifically about recruiting?
Yeah, recruiting would help. I mean, the Big 12 landed any of Miami, Florida State, or Clemson getting in and getting more brands in the South with UCF would be just a boon to recruiting because you'd be in Texas heavy, you'd be in Florida. So that would be a huge advantage. This is interesting, though, this article and everything, because here's the truth of the matter is before Florida State and Clemson sued the ACC to get out of the conference. So say that both conferences were stable. Which is the stronger conference? It's the ACC.
It is the ACC, hands down.
Because of the brands. And like evidence of that is because they're attractive and everybody's trying to eat them up. There's evidence if you want some evidence of it. The problem is the instability's created this situation where the Big 12 is now more valuable. That's what instability does. And the Big 12 truly right now, based on the instability, is the third best conference. And until Florida State recommits to the ACC, which won't happen, that's going to be the case. The Big 12 has won third position because of that, which is crazy. It's shocking, too, as a Pac-12 fan, too. It was a pretty similar situation. The Big 12 and the Pac-12 fought last year so much, and then the Big 12 ended up winning out. And it's very similar with the ACC right now. So the Big 12 certainly is the third best conference.
And we certainly track that on our show and all the people we've had on. We look at history and trends and things like that. And Brett Yormark said the exact same things last year that he's saying this year. And we know what results he got last year. So when he speaks, I don't think anybody should think he's kidding. Right? Yormark doesn't tease, I don't think. Anyway, I'm just going to get to the last two paragraphs in this, and then we'll get to some Q&A, involve people that are in the comment section. By the way, if you want your comment to be read, for sure, make it a super chat. Otherwise, all the people that are members, we defer to those. And then, of course, I'll take random ones every once in a while, too. This is the last part I wanted to bring up, and I think this is the summation of this article. Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times. Though the Big 12 lacks headliners like FSU and Clemson, the league has more depth and parity. Its conference title race should be as interesting as any of in the country, which will warrant nationwide attention in a playoff format that awards a bye at the top of the four league champions. Those substantially larger TV payouts seem relevant. And then to finish, he says, though no fans want to chant "We're number 3," I've been saying "We're number 3" on Twitter for 2 years. Being third beats the alternative. That's why it's not outlandish to think the Big 12 could be a short-term landing spot for FSU and or Clemson if they can wriggle out of the ACC. Perhaps those schools could bank larger payouts in the Big 12 until its TV rights hit the market in January 2030. We talked about that 6 years before the apparent end of the ACC current deal. By then, the college football landscape, to what Flo has been saying over and over again, by then, the college football landscape could look very different for FSU, Miami, Clemson, whatever's left of the Power Four, however you rank them. So first thoughts from you guys about that. That's a powerful article, right? It's declarative. He's putting his opinion out there, but he's trying to use history to back up some of his comments. Flo, did any of that really hit home for what he's saying?
No, I mean, it's a good. I like the article. Number one, I just, again, I feel like a broken record. I think college football has changed in the last 3 years. NIL, transfer portal has changed the whole. You know what you were is great, but you better be aligning yourself from a financial, recruiting, and a football, because that's the one that moves the needle.
Yep.
Moving forward, like your value. Like, we've been terrible, and we're lucky to be in the conversation because of what we did a long time ago. But because Mario's there and we pulled in 3 recruiting classes that are in the top 10 and we have money, we're a commodity all of a sudden. You know, I think that when you talk about there's the Big 12 better than the ACC or is Florida State or it's you guys know this, man. We don't have to make this more complicated than it is. You got to have a really good football program. Or the potential to have a really good football program. And if you don't, you're going to be left out of all the good stuff. And you can spin it, turn it any which way you want. We can do a million numbers. But if you don't have a really good national power football or potential to have one, you're not going to be in the conversation to get picked or get an invite to do anything when you're stuck out there. And it's not cool. I'm an old school guy. I like my man said, you got to earn it, and you know, it's and we're in that situation too. What have we earned? And I can only speak about my school, right? We haven't earned nothing in 20 years. You know, like we're living on a brand from 20 years ago. Yes,
Yeah,
all of a sudden
BYU is doing the same thing.
All of a sudden we get we're allowed to put money back in. We get a coach that knows what they're doing, and all right, there looks like they're going in the right direction. So, oh my God, it could be the old Miami. But if you want to talk about someone, it's Clemson and FSU. For you guys, and I say you guys, I mean, talk about the Big 12. Mm-hmm. I think you have a much deeper conference for sure, but there's no one that scares anybody.
Right.
You understand at the end of the day, you this year, I think Kansas State's going to have a good team. Utah could be something but there's no one you're like, man, they got a chance to win the whole thing.
Year in and year out. You don't have that one or two brands. That's
right. Correct. And I think because of the commissioner you got, you're about to steal. You're about to steal a bunch of good, and that conference will change. You bring in 2 or 3 name brands to that conference with the depth of that conference. That conference gets elevated immediately. At the end of the day, I think the Big 12 is in a good position. I agree. I think they're the 3rd best conference because of what he said. They're stable.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
They're stable. You can't even. The ACC is nothing right now. It's about to explode and go get the best pieces. And I think that's what your commissioner is going to do. At the end of the day, and then the Big 12 is going to look much different, and it'll be serious.
I love it. I love
Flo,
all that.
If Florida State and Clemson go to the Big 12, is that going to change perceptions and change the thought from hey, the Big 12 is in 3rd position to really the Big 12's punching at the same weight almost as the SEC and the Big 10? Is that such a game changer that it puts the Big 12 on that level?
I think that in my honest opinion, it would be the first 2 years they're in your conference will tell us everything. Meaning, are they still, let's see what they do the first 2 years. Let's see what the rest of the conference does. When the Big 10 is assembled and when the SEC is assembled, let's see how the college playoffs play out. But as much as I hate the Seminoles, they got the money to keep their football program going. Clemson's has got a good program. I mean, it just makes the Big 12 so much better. Right. And you guys are already so deep. I think you got really good football across the board over there. There's not really a bad, terrible 3 or 4 teams in your conference. Everyone, you got to play football in that conference. You add a couple of teams that have done really good recently that have the potential and the money to continue what they've been doing. I think it changes the perception of the Big 12 dramatically, and it scares the Big 10 and the SEC where they can panic a little bit because your commissioner is a boss right now. I mean, I love watching him his interviews. He talks in his interviews, and I get excited because I'm like, I wish we had that guy.
A lot of people do. Moen, do you want to add anything to that? The whole article and basically the summation of what's going on between these 2 conferences.
Yeah, it's kind of sad you guys gave an extension to Jim Phillips, huh?
No.
That is unbelievable.
That's a disaster.
Just because he interviewed for the Big 10 job, you guys thought he was
disaster.
Yeah. Let's talk about the ACC right now. You're first person. What's your perception of everything that's going on? You hear talks we don't hear. Excuse me. You hear people talking in the background, other conversations that we don't have access to. What is the scuttlebutt? Are people worried?
Yeah, everybody's terrified because, I mean, when I say everybody, if you're not in the top 4 teams, everyone is trying to align themselves at least to partner up with those teams to kind of like a relationship, as you would say. But the conversation that keeps coming up, and I don't know if you guys get the same chatter, is they're thinking ESPN's going to do something here, and there's a few different stories on which direction it could go, but there's some hope or some chatter that they may remake the conference, redo it, or I don't know, a smaller version of more quality, dissolve it and then redo it with 8 to 10, 12 teams. So there's a few teams that are a little excited about that. I wouldn't bet on that. I definitely not at all. But if the money's there, maybe they do it. I'm not a money person. I know I keep bringing it up, but that's what's making college football turn lately. The last 3 years, I mean, you're seeing it get more and more and more lopsided.
Right.
At a very rapid pace.
Yes.
Where it's out of control and there's no guardrails. That's what's triggering a lot of this realignment because now everybody wants to make sure they got the best teams. so they have the most viewers and the best TV contracts, and let's get the most people in the playoffs and blah blah. The ACC's in trouble. A lot of people are scared, and I mean, I would say that 70% of the conference is scared. The people that I talk to, if you're in that 30%, that 20% above, then you don't really care. I mean, you don't care. I mean, because you're going to be okay at the end of the day.
Right.
But 75-80% of that conference is, I have a really good source, I would say, that is at Virginia, and they are trying to be nice to everybody right
I
now.
bet.
They're trying to be nice to everybody right now. And I mean, you see the writing on the wall. I mean, I don't know how it ends. I really don't.
Sure.
But I that something's about to happen very soon, and then you'll see the dominoes. I think once one thing happens, I think this is going to be like a floodgate.
Yep.
Very good.
Flo, what do the Hokies do? What does Virginia Tech do in this situation? Like, have you heard anything about Virginia Tech?
Yeah, first, there's something with their state that I think that Virginia and Virginia Tech have to do something together. I'm not sure if they were able to get out of that, which hurts Virginia Tech, because Virginia Tech's a better brand than Virginia at the end of the day. So there was some chatter that if someone takes Virginia Tech, they have to take Virginia. I don't know how much a truth there is to that, because I'm not an attorney, but someone told me that. And Virginia Tech's football is starting to come back, but they're not where they used to be. But they're a solid enough brand where I think they'll be in a conversation of a landing spot where you're not going to be hurt in taking them. And they're over on that coast over there, so that helps a lot. I actually talked to an assistant coach there a few weeks ago, and he was telling me that they're nervous because they don't have the funds to withstand something more than 3 years. They were telling me.
Wow.
So they can withstand something for 3 years, like take hits. Wow. But after that third year, they start getting really crushed. So that's all I got on there, and I don't know much more about that.
Sure.
Can I get to this new member, and then you can ask another question? We have a new member just in the house with us. I appreciate them joining. This is Ralph P., Florida State guy. We love Florida State here, Ralph. We're talking about ifs, thens, but we make no declarative statements against Florida State. We're cheering you guys on. He says Ralph P. became a YouTube member. Thank you so much, Ralph. Moen, what's going on there?
He became a member. We're going to let him cook.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
I love it.
I love it.
Thank you, Ralph. I appreciate you being around, becoming a new member. Make sure after the show, and I'm going to bring it up right now because I didn't do it earlier, we do have a special section with only member videos. Let me show you where that is really quick. Add to stage. Take that off there. So this is our main College Football Mafia page. You hit the membership tab, and these are all our member videos. And we have at this point, we haven't counted. Moen, do we know? We got to be over 50, right?
Probably.
Yeah. The most current ones, though, there's a Moen rants about Notre Dame. Wild Ute University breaks down all the viewership in the Big Ten. He did the exact same thing for the Big 12 and the ACC. Timeline is another video series, but mostly it's the Wild Ute Universities. That's the brand that we sell. Ute, why don't you tell everybody kind of what's going on with those videos?
Absolutely. We take a subject team, see them almost like an investment, and we apply a realignment model to them to see, hey, how they're going to score out. And it's kind of shocking, actually, like the teams that score above the median or like the mid-level point stuff are the true realignment candidates and everything based on the data. And the teams that are lower really aren't the true realignment candidates. And like going back to the Hokie conversation, Virginia Tech's still like the biggest data crazy scenario. The data hates the Hokies, but yet we know they're a big brand. Like it's the weirdest thing ever, right? But that's
I don't
that's
think
what the
Flo,
Wild.
Yeah, I don't think Flo knew that. You might want to tell him.
Flo. The Hokies really score poor in a lot of metrics and stuff that are important to the Big 12 that we're aware of. And I would actually like to say this too. So on 365 Sports, Brett Yormark was interviewed, and he made mention yesterday that data is really the driver in realignment for the Big 12. Like they look at the data, they look at value creation. If you can create value for the Big 12 in markets and brand size, the data, they take a look at the data and they make the decisions based on that. So really, this is what they're doing. They're developing their own models, and then those recommendations are going to your mark, and he's broaching them with the presidents. This is how it works in business. We're trying to replicate that. That's exactly what these models are. Spent this last week working on the SEC realignment model, which is freaking a chef's kiss. I love it. It took forever to put together. Got that developed, and we're going to run some schools through it, probably FSU, KU, maybe Miami, Flo, maybe Miami. We'll see how they score out and stuff in the SEC.
All day.
I have nothing but respect for your models. I'm just very confident that if you're winning football games, you're going to be on TV a lot.
Yeah.
And to me, it comes. I mean, if I'm just dumbing it down, that's literally, you just got to win. You got to win, and I think that takes care of itself. I really believe that. Not just Miami in general, like. If you're winning, you're on TV a lot. They have to watch you whether they want to watch you or not. And that's where you get your brand to go up, in my opinion.
Bob Thompson, he's the god of all this, right? Bob Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And he's given us his formula. But the top two were brand value, which you mentioned over and over and over again, and rivalries. Those were his top two. Now there's others. We don't need to go into all of them right now. And a lot of those we use in the calculations that you does when he does the breakdowns of the schools and the conferences. But at the end of the day, that's Bob Thompson's 5, right? I'm curious what Brett Yormark's 5 would be.
Right.
I would venture a guess they're on that list somewhere, but they may be way down. There might be other calculations that they're working on that none of it. He's playing chess. We're playing checkers.
Right. And I think that when you win, it forces people to watch you. Like, I didn't really watch Washington too much. I had to watch Washington late in the year because they were there. You understand? Yeah. Like, of course, the metrics and the analytics, of course, that plays. I mean, I'm just dumbing it down. Sure. But if you want to just look at it from just a black and white standpoint, you put yourself where they have to watch you, and your value will go up very quickly.
Right.
Where they don't have a choice. I'm watching you. Like BYU. Let's say I don't like BYU. You start winning. Right. I have to watch you because you're going to be playing. And you understand? So your value will immediately go up. So I really believe that, look, again, your commissioner, I wish we had him. I guarantee you he has the best analytics and metric people in the world working for him because he's a business dude. But at the end of the day, you need to have people at the late in the year where people want to watch you play.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Moen, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, by the way, in the members only section to determine the next Wild University, you guys have to vote for which school it is. And I did put Miami as an option. So
all right.
Miami.
So that'll be a breakdown. So everybody needs to go to the main page on YouTube. Do they have to go to the members section to do that?
That's a members only poll. Members only get to vote on the Wild University selection.
Yeah. Adding more and more member stuff for specials. We're going to reward you for you giving us some of your time and money. We really appreciate it. All right, I'm sorted through the news. There's a bunch of other stuff I thought I'd bring up, but people are starving for more ACC Florida State Clemson. Virginia Tech just peaked. So I think we're going to turn around. We're an hour in. I'm going to start Q&A, our world famous Q&A a little bit early. Do you want to stick around, Flo, or do you want to take off?
I can stick around for 10 more minutes. Yeah.
Oh, I love you to stay as long as you want. Absolutely.
Nice.
10, 15, whatever. Yeah, I'm hanging out. I got nothing to do, man.
Stay an hour. Stay as long as you're on.
I like football.
All right, Moen, what's this? Come in out this outside door there.
Summit Hawk, the Kansas Jayhawk has gifted 5 college football memberships. Yes. Those went to Clint Moses, Fearless Fran, The Architect, Moff Prof, and Edward Douglas Ministries. Make sure you guys thank the OG Summit Hawk in the chat, and we will give them another.
OG. Can we give them? Oh, there we go.
Is that the one you were looking for?
That's the one. Got to do the Jayhawk squawk.
Summit Hawk, thank you so much for everything you do for us, your loyalty, your membership, all the donations. We could not be happier with having you around in the College Football Mafia family. I would encourage, if you've received a gift tonight, consider paying that back and giving one to somebody else. It's good luck. I believe in karma, And I would encourage everybody to do that. So if you get a free membership, consider giving one back. And we really appreciate all those.
And go vote in that poll right now. If you want FSU to the SEC, let's take a look at it. I'm going to get to that tomorrow. I'm curious. I haven't broke out the data. I want to see it myself. So just get that vote in.
All right. Let's jump into some comments and we'll start the Q&A. Thanks again, Summit. Really appreciate it. Troll grinding cheek clapper. This guy's awesome. Will a college football triumvirate of the Big 10, SEC, and Big 12 last when historically triumvirates and in general college football alliances don't? In my opinion, there's two ways this could go. It could be the P3 with 3 leagues between 20 and 24 schools. That could happen. Depending, but the Big 12 has to steal some brands. They would have to get a Florida State. They would have to get a Clemson. Just picking up Wake Forest to Boston College is not going to get us there. So if you get to that point, that P3, that would be a one way to go. In my opinion, though, there's going to come in something else, not now, maybe 5-10 years, where one of these media organizations is going to decide they want to invest $4 or $5 billion into building what has been termed a super league. And there's 2 ways they could do that. They just pick their own schools, do a schoolyard pick 'em and go, or they could take the structure of the P3, elevate that, use that as your model, and then put in some sort of relegation promotion model. So a lot of different options. I gave you a couple. What do you guys think about that?
Hey, go ahead, Flo.
I think the 2 conferences are going to eat everybody up.
Fair.
Again, you guys got a wild card as a leader. I can't say 100% because I do think that commissioner is going to rattle cages. I really do. And if he shakes things out a certain way where it becomes a lot difficult to eat them up at the end of the day, the biggest sharks win. And right now it's the Big 10 and the SEC, and they're just getting bigger, right? But can I see a world where the Big 12 could be the third? Yeah, I could see it. I wouldn't bet on it. I just think the Big 10 and the SEC are going to eat everybody up within 5, 6, 7 years tops.
Very good.
I would say this. If this is a triumvirate, the Big 10 is Octavian, SEC is Mark Anthony, and Big 12 is Lepidus.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
true.
guys. It's
true.
It's the truth. True. You get North Africa and Sicily. And
nobody is denying it. Ute and I both know that. Yeah, we know it. Ute, what do you think?
So the question really is what happens, right? In the far out future here, is that kind of what I'm getting with this? Bomber, yeah. I agree with you. I do think there's going to be a breakaway of football only. And I think the conferences are going to exist in their current states for all sports and everything, but football will end up separating and consolidating and media partners won't even pay that much more. They don't even need to pay that much more, but you're just feeding less people, more brands, bigger brands. And so I think it's moving that way.
Yeah, imagine a world where the Super League is the structure by the media company. Let's say it's Fox. They invest the billions of dollars to give people the ability to get out of their current media deals. And then that allows them to keep the conferences intact. Don't change the conferences at all. Just promote the schools that you want in that league, and that they just play each other.
Yeah.
No more milking. No more milk suckers. No more milking. Right?
How many teams?
There's a lot of milking going on in the SEC right now.
How many teams do you think?
40.
24.
I think it's 48 to 60.
Okay. And you think 24?
Smaller. 24.
Wow.
That's
really
that's ultra.
We're talking about a contract. Think about this.
Wow.
Add the Big 10 contract with the SEC contract right now, and then add the 24 biggest brands, and there you go. And maybe a Big 12 team or 2 gets into that. No relegation.
Wow.
No relegation.
That's vicious. Right.
Owen.
There.
I don't believe in Super League. No Super League.
Nice.
That's easy enough. It's a good question, and Flo, we know this conversation is going to keep going and keep going. It's never going to go away until it's finally resolved. But people do, in their minds, don't necessarily think about genetics, telling everybody a Super League's coming next week. But in a model where they can make more money with less schools, consolidation, they're going to build something, and it's going to be exclusive.
I think I like your number of 48. 24 would be, my gosh.
Yeah, that's a little.
That's, I mean, wow. I think 48 would be tough, to be honest with you, but I think 48 would probably be the right number. just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of schools like 24 would be just cutthroat.
Flo, if you were a media executive, what would you want?
24.
Bingo.
Yep.
Who's pulling the strings? You said it yourself, money.
No, you're right.
Listen, that's just.
But
just
what's the most?
that up.
Well, let me ask you. I'm going to push back on you. What's the most
For sure.
exciting sporting college event in the world?
A college football game to me, like Super Bowl.
You don't think March Madness is?
I think
Everybody.
Super Bowl's more excited, but I'm a Chief fan too.
No,
All
no,
three of those, the NC2A tournament, college playoffs, and then the NFL.
I don't even watch college basketball until March Madness. I mean, you get all the fans that don't know anything
Just
about
the
it. But
tournament.
let's make a bracket, right?
Yeah.
I think that if they can make that into football, like at the end, like 48 teams, that would bring that kind of excitement to the casual fan that doesn't watch football. I think.
I'm not saying that I want that. I'm just saying, like, if I'm an executive for a media company, I'm pushing for that.
You're right.
Because that maximizes eyeballs and money, and you're not having to feed the milk suckers anymore.
No, you're right. The way you pose the question, if I was an exec, what would I want? I would want just the cream of the crop, But it's so exciting for college football when you do get the upsets, when you get the 48 seed that beats, I think that is value. I really think that's value to that. Personally, a
lot of games, a lot of broadcasters. 48 is right at the bottom qualification for numbers in conferences. That's the very minimum to fill all the time slots. So 48, it has to go from 48 up if you're just doing time slots.
Well, I think that football exists still, but like it'd break out so you'd have a 24 and a 24. Basically a Premier League and a League One or whatever, if you want to throw it English model.
Maybe.
With less money at the lower levels, and you could probably even make a playoff out of it where 9 of the 10 teams come out of the Premier League or whatever. That's
the
maximizing money.
Promotion is only 3 in the Premier League. So Steve Moser, a recent YouTube member signee. At the same time he signed up, and you got a sounder for him, Moen?
I do.
Okay. I was just going to get to the gifts, but okay.
Let him cook.
We've already done that one. Let's do
I love it. All right, Moen, go ahead. You put it up there.
He has gifted 5 memberships to the College Football Mafia family. Kayani L, Jose, Semin Old School, Amazing Blue, and Larry M. Welcome to the family. And I will give you, this is the only time we're playing at this show, I will give you the Milking Me remix.
No!
Yes.
Sucking you. They've been sucking you. They've been sucking you. You sick bone?
This is incredible. I love it. Oh my God.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Steve Moser. Again, if you received a membership, consider paying it forward and giving one to somebody else, so they can also join in and go watch all those videos that we've got in the members only area. Plus, I believe next Wednesday is our premiere, sort of the premiere of our members only shows. Wednesday nights are going to become members only, and they're going to be loaded. They're going to have really cool guests. And you're not going to want to miss those. So let's keep moving on here. Let's see. RT says you need a cat sound if you don't have one already, Moen. We have 3 cats in the Big 12 now.
Yeah, I've got PTSD from Penn State playing that damn sound effect every time they make a play.
The roar.
If they make a first down, they'll play that song.
BYU does the same thing. I hate it.
It's nonstop.
I hate it. Is it better than the na march at USC? That one or Notre Dame plays the song after every play as well. I hate those. I absolutely hate those.
I hate them except when they're coming from my team, guys.
Okay, there you go. Shooter TX, not a member, but been around a while. Good to see you, man. It says at Summit Hawk Nights, now you don't go winning games with your old OC. Win a few, get bowl game, but no fair stealing our guy and winning it all. I don't have that marked. Do you know what he's referencing there, guys?
I assume Kansas stole the Baylor.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that it's Grimes. I think it's your old guy.
Grimes. Yeah, Grimes went from Baylor. That's right. Yeah, good. He'll be good for 2 years. Just warning you. You picked up Grimes. He is tip of the top for 2 years. in my opinion, doesn't know how to run an organization. You can come in and fix it, get people to play for 2, maybe 3 years, and then after that, he loses the organization. That's in my opinion. And he's a BYU guy, right? But there's a reason he didn't come back to BYU. Shooter TX also says Bob Thompson is looking at metrics that lead to easy viewership. Yormark looks at metrics that can lead to viewership after Yormark does his brand building magic. So first, Ute, what do you think about that breakdown? And then Flo, you can go after him.
I think that's a good Georgia Tech comment right there, that you can build brands. And like Flo saying, hey, if you've got enough money in your program, you can build it up, get the viewership. That is how you improve your brand awareness. It's winning. You nailed it, Flo. Cheers to you.
And what do you think, Flo?
I mean, yeah, I think it's that model will never go away. Yeah. I mean, you know, if you're successful, everybody's gonna watch you, even if they don't like you. You know, yes. Like you just. It's nuts. I get it. You know, it's about, let's get this region over here and make sure we tap into this. That's all very valid. You need that. You need to have it spread out as much as you can, take as much area of the map as possible. I get that. But if you are losing, less people watch you. It's just facts.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, it doesn't change either. It's always going to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Shooter, thank you very much for the message, or your comment. We really appreciate it. Very insightful. I have queried, just so everybody knows, I have sent 5 questions to Bob Thompson. He's under no obligation to answer them, and sometimes he doesn't get back to me for a month. But if he answers these questions, it will blow everybody's mind. It will throw everybody back to the dark ages if he answers them. So I'm looking forward to that.
Hey, so Bomber, tell everybody who Bob Thompson is again, just to remind everybody.
Oh, sure. So Bob, and we got to do these other gifted memberships too.
Sure.
Bob Thompson is the retired president of Fox Sports. He is the one that came up with the idea for the Big Ten Network. Yep. He's also the one that brought Fox into the major big time broadcasting, made them the primary partner for the Big Ten. And now we know the Big Ten is making the most money, except for Premier League soccer and the NFL. They're making the most. So that's who he is. He's retired. He doesn't do a lot of shows. Certainly doesn't answer a lot of messages, but he's a friend of ours, and I think we've earned his respect. So
yeah. We're very fortunate to have him. Yeah.
Absolutely. Jade, I'm going to do this, and then we got 5 new memberships. Jaden Jalon Jermiason says, Jermiason, FSU won't join the Big 12. Okay. Well,
that's clear.
Yeah, thanks for. I don't know what else to say.
True.
Yeah, I don't. Your opinion is valid. How about that? RT it was also a member, has given another 5 memberships. Moen, what is going on in that membership window?
We got a membership train running tonight, boys. Doc Gibbs was gifted a membership. KS Bearfan, Wayne Russell, Benjamin Griffin, Case Struthers. You were all gifted a membership by RT. Make sure you thank him in the chat. And I will say,
I am the milkman. My milk is delicious.
That's hilarious.
For the milkman, you.
Yes. Thank you so much, RT. Really, really appreciate it. And everybody, if you received that membership, make sure you thank them in the comment section. And then, of course, consider paying that forward. All right, let's keep going. Here's one directly going to Flo. Lee Austin Jr., who's also a member, says, Miami guy Flo, the Big and SEC are the best. They are not scared of the Big 12. And then you get some laughing emojis.
I don't disagree. I mean, sorry, guys. I muted myself. I think they are. I mean, again, they have the most money. They're gonna make more money than. I personally think the SEC is insane right now, and I can't stand that conference. Sorry to anybody who said I can't stand them, but they're just. I mean, you pick 6, 7 teams out of there and put them in any other conference, any one of the 6 or 7 of those teams, it changes the whole conference,
right?
And the Big 12 is trying to do something. I think they're positioning themselves to try to make a move. I think they can. Because they're so aggressive and they're in a position of strength with what happened with the Pac-12, and now look what's going on with the ACC. Like he said, they're stable right now. And that gives you credibility. When you have credibility, you can make moves, right? And you have a guy that's smart, business savvy, and he's aggressive, and he talks it, right? He can sell ice to an Eskimo. I hear him talking. I believe everything he's saying. I think they're in a position to make a move, but I just don't know if you can catch the Big Ten and the SEC. I'd find it hard to believe. I'm sure anything is possible,
right?
But they're just dominant right now.
Yeah, no, we don't disagree with that at all. Yeah.
The fact that we're even talking about this is pretty shocking in itself. The fact that this is even like a legitimate discussion.
Yeah.
Like, just think about that. From where the Big 12 was a couple of years ago to now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's major momentum, guys.
Yeah, I think
you got a good leader. It's the leader. I'm telling you, it's that from the outside looking in, and you guys know a lot more than I do. I think you guys have a guy that's shaking the cage, like I said earlier, and something's gonna fall out.
Very, very fair. The architect recently started watching this. We really appreciate you being our architect. Says the roughly $90 million that each team in the big SEC hits different. Just as Flo is saying, the kids will follow the money. Everyone follows the money more times than not. I'm not sure. What do you guys take from that? I don't really have a takeaway.
I think, I'm not trying to speak for him, but he's saying they're just going to get stronger because they're just going to keep getting more quality.
Yeah, we agree with that.
Because of the money. That's how I read that,
okay.
You know, at the end of the day. And if you're not in that conference, you better have a massive NIL program because that's the only other way you're going to be able to combat that.
Yep, absolutely right. Mo, and you want to say anything to that one?
That was well said.
Okay, well done. Our next one's from The Walking Geek. I like your little picture there, Walking Geek. Thanks for being here tonight. The Big 12 is making basketball plays for a reason. The Big and SEC are competing in all 3 time slots.
Basketball is worth 20% of football. That's likely not going to be increasing in the future. Yeah, it's nice to add basketball brands, but they're not moving the needle. It's a nice to have, not a must have. And so we can't, as Big 12 folks, bank on basketball. We don't want to become the Big East. We're trying to become the SEC or the Big 10. So let's just make sure that we're clear about the biggest priorities, and that's adding strong football teams and brands.
I'll go to you, Flo, but I want to get something out of my head before I forget it. About a month and a half ago, and if you don't believe what Flo and Ute and Mullen and I have been saying about some of this stuff, I guarantee you football's driving the bus because Brett Yormark went to Arizona, University of Arizona, who we all know is a basketball power, emerging football power, but he went there for a purpose. He did a talk in front of their athletic department and administration, and in that talk, he talked about football. The Big 12 is a football league. He doesn't want it. That messaging for the last year or so that we're going to be the best basketball league. Even he said some of that last year. He knows now it's all about football. So it was not only a good place to say it, basically telling Arizona, you want to be playing, you have to invest in everything, coaches, facilities, players. But he's also telling the world, telling the rest of the Big 10, Big 12, hey, you guys either step up in football with your facilities and your sport, or we might move on. So what do you guys think about that?
I think basketball is a side chick. I mean, I think, football is your main girl, your wifey, the one you spend your money on, you spend all your time with, you take care of her, all that good stuff. I won't get too crazy in this, but I think basketball, I think basketball is your side chick. I really do.
Very fair. Moen, or you want to add anything to that?
I like the side chick comparison.
That's what I.
Side chick's there, not hurting anybody's feelings. We have a Maryland Terrapin in the house, Crab Cakes and Football, who's recently started watching us, and I thank you for being here, Crab Cakes. I've loved all your input on Peek Around the Corner, Greg Flugar's show, obviously, and having you here, I really appreciate it. $2 super chat. You're not a member though. I wonder why that is. You gotta get the membership just for a month and watch those Wild University videos. I promise you it's worth the time. Big 12 private equity is helping. If P2 does the same, gap widen. I'll answer this, and then you guys can answer after me. It's true, but the Big 12 is not trying to bring in private equity to catch up to what the the Big Ten and the SEC are. That gap is too vast.
Yeah.
What he wants to use that is an investment into the conference, i.e., maybe paying some fees for schools to join from other conferences. That's one idea. But yeah, the idea that they don't care what happens at the SEC and the Big Ten at this point. We don't care if they turn around and sell their naming rights. We don't care about anything they do because we're in a silo and we have to act like we're number 3 and we're going to own it.
Big 12 is a disruptor, right? And they're the first movers advantages with private equity. Guess what, guys? You can sign private equity loan documents and never use the funds. You don't have to use the funds, but the fact that you got the money aside to use the funds is powerful in itself. And nobody else is talking about it. It's a disruptor move and everything, and it can cover exit fees if you want to use it like that for Florida State or a Miami or a Clemson or whoever. So really it's power. Money, having a huge wad of money in the background that you can use is powerful. And the threat of it is something too. The threat of it's powerful.
Flo, thoughts?
It's gonna you get more sponsors or more people that want to pay and put their logo on your field if you're playing late in the year in games that matter.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. You're exactly right.
You have to win, guys. Yep. If you win, this whole conversation changes.
Yep.
Like you can go from 3 to 2 really quick with 2 or 3 years of just disrupting with W's in the big bowl games or the college playoffs. Like I really truly believe that because again, look at the model that's gone through history. Everybody watches the people that are winning. They don't care about the rest at the end of the day. I'm telling you, the Big 12 puts a couple teams in the playoffs for 2 or 3 years in a row and they win and they do well. Guess what those logos on the field or whatever, sponsor you get, guess the value of that goes up and it counters the money that you're not getting on TV from the other side.
100%. 100%. I love the idea, earn it, right? It's a meritocracy. If you earn it, you'll get rewarded.
Dude, Utah is going to be huge for the Big 12.
They're going to be good. Yeah,
huge.
Utah's good this year. If they don't win a playoff game this year, like the first round, if they don't get there and then win that first round, I cannot foresee a time in the future where they're going to have a better team.
Yeah,
this team is top heavy. It's probably top to bottom the best team they've ever had, door to door.
I think that guy is underrated as a coach. I really do.
Whittingham is a stud. Yeah,
I think he is a stud. And look, Kansas State has got a team this year too. Like I think you guys have a couple teams, 2 or 3 teams that can actually do something.
Yeah.
I just think Utah's battle tested a little bit, and they're more, I would say, stable. That's the right word, where they can make a move and they're built a certain way where they can play a Big Ten team and they're not going to be scared. Right. They're built a certain way, Look, I hope we're doing this show next year. I bet you we'll have different conversations. I really believe there's going to be some shakeup stuff that's going to happen because now with NIL and the transfer portal, it's an even playing field if you have the money to bring those players in. And if you have a good coach like they have, oh my God.
Flo, he's probably going to retire if the Utes make the playoff and win a playoff game.
I agree with that.
He's got 1 or 2 years left, so we're hoping that his predecessor is like the next up in line.
If he doesn't win now, I cannot project when in the future.
Take advantage of it because he's a good coach, man. He runs a good program.
Moen, did you want to add anything to that at all?
Can't wait for Cam Rising's 19th year of eligibility.
I just think you need to keep the MASH unit on the side when he gets hurt again. Anyways, we're just teasing. Moen Vision, what do we got going here?
Moen Vision gifted 5 memberships to the College Football Mafia. Those went to Grayson Ganoush, Mick Stevens, Manny UCF, Jan Holt, Edward Wilson. I drink to your health, gentlemen. Welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family. Hey, Moen, what sounder do you want? Yeah, what sounder? Your choice.
Drunk Joe.
Which one?
I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
That's awesome.
I would just say, Jan Hulk, welcome back to the fold. We appreciate you being here. He is Slovenia. Slovenia is down there where Yugoslavia used to be. We're an international show here. We go all around the world, follow the sun, from the Philippines to Europe to the United States. So
And the train keeps rolling. That's
we
the
do.
important thing. Oh, Ryan Martin, another train. There we go.
Yeah, let's give him a sounder. Thank you very much, Ryan, for joining. We appreciate it.
Let's get drunk.
Let's go get drunk.
Make sure everybody after the show's over, go watch those Wild Ute and Moen Vision, Moen Rants and other videos.
No, make sure at 10 o'clock on Moen Vision, Slumber Party Massacre. It's a classic.
People don't know what you do for a living, Moen. So
yeah, I know.
Steve Moser, recent new member, says Pate doesn't understand how one-loss records work either. Thinks all the best teams the next 3 years are going to be in the same two leagues. Not very bright.
I don't understand.
I think that is Pate saying here that he thinks that all the movement's going to the Big Ten and the SEC?
I haven't heard that. This is just his comment. I haven't heard that.
Me either.
I think consolidation is going to continue happening, though, of course. But then at what point do conferences get full? Like, we've heard a lot that 20 teams is really the optimal mix financially for media partners. That means 4 for the SEC and 2 for the Big Ten. That's 6 that's 6 schools added. Then what? If the media partners don't want to pay for any more, then where do teams go?
Yeah, it's a good question. Bowl games are really antiquated too. They might have to come up with you have one tournament and another tournament, right? So everybody's playing extra games. More games, more money, right, Moen? More people watching TV.
More money.
Right. Absolutely. Becky Go Huskies in the house, one of the contributors. Big West Mafia, good to see you, Becky. Hope you're doing well. She says, what's going on? Nothing's going on. We're just chatting. Stormy Cyclone, another new member, says, Milkman Ute, can you leave 2 bottles in the morning? Appreciate it.
I'll be the milkman. I deliver very early and late sometimes.
That's hilarious.
Moen, how did you get this started? Come on, man.
Good job, Moen.
You started it. I didn't. That's not me saying sucking you dry.
Lee, another member, says, could you imagine what Twitter would look like if Miami ended up in the Big Ten and FSU ended up in the Big 12? Can I just say this out to the world? In one of the many futures that I can see exactly this happening. What do you guys think? One of the futures, right? There's infinite number of futures, but I could see this could happen.
I don't know where Florida State ends up. But I think that Miami is probably heading to the Big Ten. If you put a gun to my head, just little things I'm hearing. I don't know everything. I'm not a journalist. Right. I know some people in the program that are plugged in, and we just fit. It's just but like we said earlier in the show, because it's a fit, we'll probably end up in the G5 or something. I don't know, because it's
no, that's not going to happen.
No. I would, and personally, I just love the teams, and I would love that schedule. Oh my God, it would be. We want it so bad, it would be great. But whatever helps, man. I'll take wherever we can go. I just don't want to be in the ACC anymore.
Can I just tell you, your humility is nice to hear.
Appreciate it.
You're pragmatic. I wish more people were like that. I wish more fans of these other ACC schools had the same attitude, because the world's changed. Pac-12 disappeared. USC went to the Big Ten. Oklahoma and Texas went to the Southeastern Conference. It's not the same world that it was 3 years ago. Everybody needs to change their mindset.
Yeah.
You were going to say something.
I'm curious on where everyone thinks Miami lands now with the most recent information this week about Florida State. Like, where does Miami? Let's look at Miami. Where do they land, Bomber?
Do you want to do a poll?
Let's throw a poll out there.
Do a poll, Moen. Can we do a poll? Let them answer, and then we'll talk about it. How about that?
Absolutely. That's fantastic.
Yeah, let's run a poll for 5 minutes, if that's okay, Moen.
Yeah, I'm running it right now.
All right, awesome. Lee Austin Jr. says, no, all the Big 12 will be doing is replacing Texas OU for Clemson FSU. Again, they're different.
Very,
very, very different. They do things differently. Nobody's as bad as Texas and Ohio State. Nobody's as bad as those two schools. But yeah, I don't think that's a. I don't think you guys want to comment on that at all.
Well, you're adding more than just 2 schools. I mean, if the Big 12 does happen to land
yes,
at Clemson and Florida State, there's 2 more coming along. So you get to a 20. And who's that 2 more? I mean, is it going to be a Virginia Tech? Is it going to be a Pitt, Louisville? They're going to swing for Miami.
Louisville, Miami.
Louisville, yeah. I mean, it seems like the Louisville soured a little bit for like Big 12 chatter, at least, which is shocking because Louisville is basically the perfect Big 12 candidate.
Right.
Yeah.
When you've got filet mignon out there, you're not buying hamburger, guys. You got Florida State, Clemson, Miami out there, you're not buying.
But you need a 4th. Who's the 4th? Virginia Tech over Louisville?
North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. North Carolina, I mean, to the Big 12 seems a little bit like an odd fit.
I'll put this out there. Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech.
Cheers to that.
You know, but what's interesting is I think, and I'm just speaking for myself, so if you're a Miami fan, don't come from my head here. This is just me. If the Big 12 can get Florida State, Clemson, and let's just say for BS, they get Louisville, and they get Miami, I think we should look at it different than we look, because it changes the way I view the Big 12 personally.
Right.
You know, I think that those 4 teams, I mean, that's a whole. I look at it with different glasses, completely different glasses. The value of that conference with those 4, because you just basically took the 4 best, pretty much the 4 best teams from one, and just added it to an already deep conference. You know, so if you got those 4, I mean, I think the value would skyrocket of that conference.
We agree with you.
That's the dream right there. That's the dream scenario for the Big 12.
That's you and I when we go to bed. We're dreaming of sweet dreams where all 4 of those schools are in the Big 12 and the world changes and P3 is real.
Throw a likelihood on that, though.
Ratified.
We might dream about that, but give me a probability or likelihood flow that
all 4 of those.
Listen, I listened to I keep bringing them up. I listened to your commissioner the other day. Yeah. You know, whenever you guys just had the media thing, and I was listening to his interviews, and he wants to swing for the fences, man. Like, he's not trying to ease into anything. Like, he's talking like, and he does it. He gives you those little subtle things that he says that you just want to go, oh, I wish you would have said a little more. Right. He gives you like a little bit of crumbs, right? And you're like, oh, what does that mean? I think it means this. I don't know what it ends up, you know, because I'm not very familiar with. This has never happened while I was a fan. You know, I'm 50 years old, and this is just nuts to me. What's happening right now? I'm learning on the go. I'm learning on the job on the go here with this. If I'm the Big 12, I try to get all 4 of those teams, and I raise the value and give them more money. And all of a sudden, you can't get swallowed up so easily. Now, you know, now you have. It's a little harder. Your shark got a little bit bigger. You still might not be like a Big 10 or SEC, but you're not coming just to bite us now. Now it's gonna have to take a little time, I think, especially if they start doing well later in the year.
You're exactly
What's
right.
fascinating about that too is like, is that so? If that scenario were to happen, or even Florida State, is that so short or intermediate term? Like, everyone's saying the short term. I even initially thought, hey, this is a short term ad and everything. But again, going back to that thought process, if they can't get into P2 now, then why would they be in 5 years?
They're not.
Like, what changes? Like, what changes with their profile that swings to all of a sudden get into a P2? So it might be a longer term marriage than you'd imagine.
I think it depends on how you do in football the next 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
I really do. I'm not trying to be funny, man, but it to me, it really comes down to that. Your value skyrockets if you start winning and you start being, you know, in that window that you join let's just say the Big 12 for those 5, 6, 7 years. If you start doing damage, you know, every late December to early January, guess when those TV contracts come back up, now all of a sudden your value is different than it was 6, 7 years ago, because to me, it really that's how it's going. I think that's where it's going right now. I really do. You gotta be able to have a seat at the table and do damage in the college playoffs or win big bowl games to be something in 6, 7 years. Because if not, then you will get swallowed up.
Moen, we have some results.
We do. The Big 10 won with 47%, Big 12 at 44%, G5 at 6% and the SEC at
Yes.
1%.
Those are the no fans.
Yeah.
So let me say that again. So Big Ten is 47.
47.
A lot of people would love that to happen for Miami. I would. The Big 12, going off of your model you were just talking about, not so unreasonable anymore, right? It would have been very distasteful 2 weeks ago. G5 is ridiculous. And the SEC is 1%. That is fascinating to me because with Josh Pate put out his tweet a month ago and he said in 9 Saturdays we're going to have resolution or whatever. In my mind, what that told me is that ESPN is, instead of waiting, they're going to get aggressive, proactive, and grab the top 4 right now. Grab Miami, and who cares about tortious interference? Let us go ahead and sue me, but it's not going to stop these schools from going to the other league. And Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and Louisville, and shut the door. And now the SEC is it. We can pick up the pieces later with the ACC. That's what I thought that meant, but I'm kind of backing off that a little bit now.
I think you guys have the wild card. I really do. I think your commissioner's the wild card. He thinks outside the box, man. He's definitely, and he's vocal about it. Like I'm sure he's doing stuff behind the scenes too, but he wants you to know this is like, we're right here. I'm sticking my chest out. Like, what's up? That's bold, but I think people rally behind that,
Well, you'd only know this, like, so if FSU or Miami got into like the Big 12, if that happened some way, shape, or form, how would that impact recruiting in your view? You're really close to recruiting in Miami circles.
I've never seen anything in my lifetime like our coach in recruiting. So as long as Mario is here, it would never affect us at all in recruiting. We were 5-7 and 7-5 when we got 2 top 7 classes.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Texas A&M numbers.
It's wild, and everyone that from the outside, it's like, oh, that's because they're paying their players. I can promise you that we have not paid for any verbals. Now, do we match and compete against the Ohio States, the Georgias, and Alabamas? Absolutely. But to defend us for a second, to be honest, like completely honest, it's the first time we've spent money ever in the last few years. We've never even put money in our program for 20 plus years. So now that we're making it an even playing field, every time that he gets a guy, they pay for him. But what they don't know is his history. He did the same thing at Oregon. Number 1 recruiter in the country when he was at Oregon. He did. Well, you think Saban hired him because he was a really good offensive line coach?
Right.
I mean, really, guys,
right.
Look, Mario's a lot of things, but he might be, if not the best, one of the top 2 or 3 best recruiters in the country. It will never hurt our recruiting classes ever. I can't speak for Florida State. Their brand is, it's a brand, but I don't know. I think it would hurt them. They're hurting now, to keeping guys, but not recruiting will not. That's never going to be an issue as long as Mario's here. Other things might be an issue. We might not take a knee, in the middle of a game.
Win more games,
from a roster standpoint, I don't think we'll have issues.
So conference affiliation is not going to matter.
Not at all.
I don't think it is.
Florida State, that's like a big one. If I'm Florida State, I'm not like considering this at all. I'm just like, hey, how's my recruiting? Is this going to impact my recruiting because we're playing Big 12 Midwest teams, Mountain teams rather than East Coast teams?
But listen,
you're bringing in
now.
Texas though. SEC is adding Texas schools, right?
It's different, man, because now it's NIL money. You're still in Florida, so we know that Florida, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana, maybe
California.
Yeah, and then the rest of everybody else. Yep. So if you have a really big school in one of those states, you're gonna be just fine unless you suck for a while, at the end of the day. And if not, you better get your NIL fund up and that'll solve a bunch of your problems.
And we've talked about that ad nauseum, but a lot of this is going to sort itself out just by Darwin's rules. The survival of the fittest.
Yep.
The teams that can't pay that $22 million or whatever it is the bottom that you pay your players. If you can't pay that, and we've had a lot of schools step up, and Boise step up. We're going to do it, right? They're going to do the $22 million, but over 10 years, can they do it every year? $22 million? That's hard to believe.
That's
the money
the key.
They're making out of the G5. So time will tell. But we
I
agree
can
with
tell
you
you.
completely.
I can tell you, you guys can bring me back on the show in a year or 2 years. I'm in this world, and a lot of schools are going to fall off as the years. A lot more than you realize. It's really escalating to a point where I would say maybe 20, 25 schools might be able to withstand this. The way it's escalating. I mean, sure, Congress might get involved soon and whatever. I mean, we can get into the whole make them employees and union and all that on another show, but the way that the numbers are escalating right now, only the strong are going to survive. And when I say strong, I say 10, but maybe 20 survive. Other than that, you're going to be playing with guys that, it's just not going to be much of a game. It's going that way. Like the Ohio States, the Miamis, the teams that have the money, they're going to just take from everybody else. I mean, it's just the way it's going. It's sad. I'm all for players getting paid. I told you guys that on the last show, but
right, of course,
I think there should be some kind of guardrails, man.
I would love a salary cap. I would, for every position, maybe say you can't go over something for a position, but a team salary cap would be awesome.
Yes.
Ohio State's not going to want that.
No, I mean,
they have unlimited funds, but everybody else kind of needs guardrails. I agree with you.
You'd be surprised how many teams don't verbalize that their money is not an issue for NIL right now. When I say surprised, I mean, you can, if you've been preparing for this, you can do whatever you want in NIL right now. And there's only 6 to 8 schools that can probably say that. Then there's another level of schools that are going to do well. I would say another 6 to 8, maybe 9. And then there's a massive, massive drop off. Massive. Like you're going to have to get guys that are prospects, coach them up, and hope they don't transfer. Because even when you coach them up, if they have a good year, they're like, I can go to Ohio State, I can go to Miami, I can go to Georgia and go get paid. And that's where the issue is. It's not right this second. It's within 3 to 5 years. It's going to turn into it's going to be a massacre.
It's destroying talent development.
Completely.
Like a talent development program. Like, unless you're paying players, you're in trouble. It
just passed in the high school ranks for us.
Yes.
Do you know what that's going to do here? You kidding me right now? If
crazy.
you're old school like I am, it's disgusting.
Right.
It's disgusting what's happening to grassroots football right now. But what are you going to do?
There's just like basketball, AAU wrecked basketball too, the exact same way.
I know 7-on-7 teams that get private jets to go to the tournaments.
See, that's
no.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not even making that up. I bet you somebody in the chat will say the name of the team. I'm not going to do it. But I know 7-on-7
private jet.
So who's funding that? Is it like the school? Like
no, it's like a person.
A person that is connected to schools. You understand? It's horrific like that. Look, the
bagman.
There's no guardrails. There's no checks.
There's 7-on-7 teams with the S that have private jets.
Gee.
It's a different world, man.
Yeah.
Being 54, you're 50. Moen's 48, right? Moen 48.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Okay.
I
don't care about. He likes the anonymity. And Ute's quite a bit younger than I am, but we all see the same thing. All of us, doesn't matter what the generation is, sees that what is going on right now is transformational. And we're only on maybe the first step.
How do you guys feel about unlimited coaches now?
I'm okay with unlimited coaches. I want them to restrict the number of players.
Oh, okay. I like that.
I'm with Bomber in there. I think coaches are fine. Have a coach for every player. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
USC already has that. Last year, they had a bunch of towel boys on the sideline, like cheerleaders and stuff that acted like coaches.
Oh, man. True. Hey, listen, I got to get out of here, guys.
Boy, you're ahead of me. You're reading my mind. I was just going to say, you look tired, Moen.
No, I'm good. I just, who just got home, so I got to go.
It's all good. Thank you. You were here 1 hour and 45 minutes.
I appreciate you guys. I love hanging out with you guys, man. Let me know. I'll come chop it up with you guys anytime. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Flo. Appreciate you, brother.
I'm still working on that panel show, Flo.
Yeah, man. Listen,
trying to get that together.
You guys know your stuff. I love coming to talk to you guys, man. Okay. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a great weekend. All right. Give them a clap out. Flo is an all-star guest. All-star. Very grateful he spends any time with us. Ryan Martin, if you're still watching the show, Ryan Martin's a new member, but I've known him on Twitter as something else for a long time. I was going to run through a series of tweets he put out today I really liked that were summarized, but he might have left. Ryan, if you're still here, put a note in the comment section or reply on Discord. I want to run through your Twitter stream. Anyway, all right, so now Flo's gone. Any final thoughts before we move on to the other parts of Q&A?
Yeah, that was a fantastic interview. I mean, really, it's surprising to hear that Miami wouldn't be much impacted by a move to the Big 12 because of the recruiting inroads that he made. So it's kind of like a moot point what conference they're in. That's crazy to hear. Good to know. Florida State might be a bit different story. That's going to be a big deal when you're moving conferences. How's it going to impact recruiting for football down the line?
Absolutely. Ryan's here. Just a second, Moen. I got to send Ryan an invitation. Okay, Ryan, check your DMs in Twitter. You can join the show. There you go. All right, Moen, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You didn't cut me off. I wasn't doing anything.
Oh, I thought you were going to answer something after you talked. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
You
No problem.
You said what he had to say.
Just to sum up everything with Flo, having him another third party in his opinions about everything that's going on, that's what's probably most important of him visiting with us. We've had North Carolina State stuff. We've had a ton of Florida State interactions, a lot of other schools. We've had Miami, but Rock and Rant's like, it's not me, it's Flo. So having his opinion come on, I really, really appreciate him spending the time. All right. I'm introducing to the stage. I'm going to get rid of our little
What's
banner.
up?
How you doing? Good to see you, Ryan.
How's it going?
Good. I appreciate you joining us. We're gonna buzz through your Twitter stream, okay? And then I just want to kind of talk to you, how you came up with the summation, and kind of what you think next steps are. Big picture. You okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's do this. All right, so this is Colonel 750 on Twitter. Here is the Twitter address. I will post it so everybody can read it. We always give credit where credit's due. Make sure we get that done. All right. And what we have here is basically an explanation, sort of a summation of all the stuff that's been happening recently. And I think it was pretty clear and concise. That's why I liked it. Regarding FSU and Clemson potentially talking with the Big 12, I think Big 12 fans need to come to grips with the fact that we are, at best, a choice of convenience for them. We've been saying that for a while. Neither can they return to the ACC. So that was a big point. He carries on, and please miss me with the they'd stay in the restructured ACC crap. You just said this. There's absolutely no incentive for the ACC to restructure itself to make them happy, and all the reasons in the world to sanction them upon their return. Carrying on, the fact is that the SEC and Big Ten expected realignment to settle down until 2030. You know who said that a while ago? Moen.
Moen
for the next round of negotiations, and then FSU got snubbed last season, and that created a sense of urgency for them to leave. There is no room for them right now. This is a blanket statement. There is no room for them right now in the SEC or Big. We'll come back to that, okay, Ryan?
Okay.
Next one is we provide win-win opportunity for them. We're a better conference, top to bottom, than the ACC, and their additions provide us with sorely needed marquee programs. They give us some better perception. Yormark either takes this opportunity and grows us into a legitimate competitive conference to the SEC and the Big Ten, or he doesn't, and they are prepared to walk away from the Big 12 for an invite from one of the other two conferences. In other words, if they can't get the Big 12 to close to the other two power conferences, they're going to turn into basically a feeder conference, and there's really no way to get that momentum back. Will that be enough further down the road? No one knows, but the fact remains that it is a viable option down the road. We need to be comfortable with the fact that if they do come, and until they sign a second media agreement, that would be 2030, 2031. There's no guarantee they're staying. And on top of that, I would just add, even if they sign it, there's no guarantee they're staying. So first of all, that was fantastic. You took a lot of people's thoughts and words and put them in so they were very easy to understand and digestible. First, tell us what made you write it, and what you see is the result of everything that's come out in the last week.
So realistically, the reason why I wrote it is I tend to stream of consciousness. I've interacted with several of you, of course, with you on Twitter, Big 12 Mafia,
Sure.
and you especially, Wild Ute, just in some of the back and forth about, Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas State stuff. Really, it's what's been sitting in the back of my brain, and it boils down to the fact that the more that comes out, the more, and realistically, we're kind of stuck on this predisposed notion that the SEC and the Big Ten just have this capability to continue to expand,
Right.
and realistically, that's not the case. I mean, at least for right now. Will they make exceptions? Like the Big Ten, always going to go after Notre Dame, right? That's a no-brainer for them. But I don't think, especially when the Big Ten already had expansion that it wasn't really counting on, that with Oregon and Washington coming on board earlier than they wanted, I think the SEC realistically has their hands tied with ESPN.
Right.
I don't think ESPN is going to, quote, be seen as rewarding FSU and Clemson after taking the ACC to court and blowing up a big media deal. Like,
Okay.
you don't go into decent business with people for that. Realistically, and the more I think about it, I think the Big 12 is uniquely positioned to take advantage of this financially. We're subsidized by both Fox and ESPN. Say ESPN blows up the ACC deal for whatever reason, and they want to retain as much value as they can, and they know they have to. We're kind of the perfect investment vehicle for that, right? Their portion of our media deal is much cheaper than what they're paying all the ACC schools outright. They could bring on, I mean, what they're paying, 65 million, 60 million. What's the SEC deal averaged at? I don't know offhand.
It's like 65 or 70 right now.
Yeah, it's around 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 70 million.
70.
You bring 4 teams into you're going to either take 2 teams into the SEC for that, or you can take 4 teams into the Big 12 for that much, plus you're cutting out the ACC deal.
Right.
So realistically, it's one of those where part of that is there's just part of it that makes sense. And like Flo was saying earlier, it's kind of hard. It's like, yeah, it makes sense. So now it's not really going to happen kind of thing.
Right.
But
makes just too much sense.
It's one of those things where it's like there's too stuffed to the gills in the Big Ten and the SEC, and we have room to grow. And if there's limited room for advancement going forward, then, and you're trying to find ways to cut down and cut costs,
right?
What's the best avenue to do that? And I think ESPN especially is served by having another power conference. Fox too. I think having a third best of the rest, even if it's 10 to 20 million in the long run behind the Big Ten and the SEC, but is still actively competitive. That's good for the sport overall.
And that's that's what we think is going to happen. Is the next phase. It might not be the final destination though.
Yeah.
Before Ute's got some questions and Moen does too. Really quick, I want to make an announcement here. Tonight we broke a record. We have new membership, 22 new members today. That is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Absolutely.
All of those memberships, including Moen Vision. Thank you. I just want to let you know we recognize who you are. We appreciate your membership. We don't take you for granted, and keep giving us ideas. I'm asking right now, everybody hit the thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up so other people might see this video, and also subscribe. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. I haven't talked about that much tonight. Follow us all on Twitter. These are things, we get caught up in interviews, but business matters too. All those things really help us. So super chats, super stickers, member donations, We appreciate all of it, and we wouldn't be here without you. Okay, you go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan a lot on his thinking. Media companies aren't going to keep shelling out money, beyond 20, like to 24. Right. Everyone thinks that there's just like endless supplies of money. It's a tight media market right now. And it's freaking expensive to add teams to the Big Ten and the SEC, 70 to $80 million a pop per year per school. Like, it's so much cheaper. It's half the cost, less than half the cost to add to the Big 12. It's actually a good investment for ESPN to move teams over to the Big 12 because you're paying less. It's really like, it makes too much logical sense. And that might be why it's not going to happen again. I get it, though. I'm with you 100%. It makes sense.
Well, I think really you have to look at it from the perspective that it can be a win-win, right?
Right.
So for FSU and Clemson, the goal, like we've said, is a Power 2 invite. It has been,
yes.
But if they buy into what your mark is selling,
yes,
as a conference, then they come in and they see that realized, because like I pointed out in my thread, we took an undervalued deal, right?
Yes.
We took less money to get ahead, to
kill the Pac-12.
To kill the Pac-12.
Right.
And it means that there's more height for us to go.
Right.
Versus the SEC and the Big Ten, they're seeing big realizations of the value that they've built up for themselves over the last couple decades, right?
But without many changes, that was their one big get. Yeah. I don't see them doing another deal like that for a long, long time.
And this is realized in some of the information that came out about the private equity stuff, right? The private equity pitch is they expect the Big 12 media value to double in the next contract.
Yep.
And if that's bringing it already into SEC territory, where they're at.
It is.
I think another thing that a lot of people don't like, a lot of people are talking about, well, how can the Big 12, how can they afford FSU and Clemson in the short term? People don't think about the playoff value, right? That
they bring with them. That's right.
They bring with them.
Yep.
And that playoff value can be used to unequally subsidize.
Sure.
I think there's an argument to be made to everybody. I mean, we've taken self-sacrificial steps every step of the way here. Lower media deal. Took they gave money to bring in BYU, UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati in order to stabilize the conference. I could see them in a world where say we bring in half of the ACC's value, which is $14 million. That's $7 million per school as a percentage, as part of a look-in deal that we would get in 2028.
Yeah. A lot of these numbers we're sort of guessing at this point, right?
Yeah, so, right.
Hey, let me ask you another question. This is follow up from David McKenzie. If you don't know who David McKenzie is, you're not on Twitter. He and Doug Rohan, friend of the show, have been engaging on Twitter, but not really debating. David's been very clear. He's only talking about the legal stuff. He doesn't get into some of the other stuff that Doug gets into. So I've engaged with him on Twitter. I really appreciate you being here, David. At some point, I want to get you on the show. You have my I think I might have sent you a DM. If not, send me a DM on Twitter. I'd love to have you on. Anyways, let's get to your comment. Big 12 would have massive tortuous interference claims on its hands by courting Clemson or FSU at this time. And those should be in quotes, at this time. What we're talking about right now is not first-person contacts. We're talking third person. He continues, does it really want independent lawsuits from ESPN, Wake Forest, Duke, etc.? It's an open question, and I think it's valid. That's his 2 cents. What are your thoughts on that? Thank you, David, by the way, for being here. Really appreciate it.
The answer is certainly not. They don't want any lawsuits against them. No one wants lawsuits against them. And I think your mark is smart enough and smooth enough and has done business in the executive levels at places like NASCAR that he would be able to navigate these waters well and have avenues of conversation that are appropriate and not first person talks.
Right.
So I would bet that he didn't have an airball there and open up the Big 12 to liability for having any type of conversation. But hey, it doesn't, okay, we have third party talks and everything, look who's rattling the cage, though. It's Florida State and Clemson. It's not the Big 12
Right.
that's rattling the cage. We're just looking to benefit and invest and grow the conference. I mean, Florida State and Clemson are the ones that's rattling. They're trying to get out. So I just don't see the Big 12 getting in trouble for anything. I think Yormark and the team are just too good at what they do to open up that type of hole.
Moen?
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
There you go.
I mean, there's some way to say
That's
that.
really good. So Ryan, I appreciate you coming on, going through that with us. What I would like to do in the future is get you on for a show for a full segment. That would be a lot of fun. But yeah, I love all the work you're doing on Twitter is awesome. Keep it up. Go ahead and tell everybody where you are and what you do.
Well, I'm an Oklahoma State fan, so obviously,
there you go.
I'm in the great state of Oklahoma.
Right.
I not really comfortable sharing what I do.
Okay, that's fine.
Or at least.
I wasn't trying to get your full background. I'm just saying, tell everybody your Twitter address and
where to find you.
What's your social security number, Ryan?
At Cowboy Colonel. I'm sure you'll see me around. I'm not a hugely big social media personality by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like I share some funny stuff and comment back and have some salient thoughts every now and then. So
I would agree with that. Everybody follow him on Twitter and get involved in the conversations. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I would say right now, the Big 12 owns Twitter right now.
Yeah, it does. Saw some Clemson fans figuring that out today.
Yeah, it's a stark reality, unfortunately.
It's a love fest, man.
I appreciate you coming on, Ryan. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, you bet.
Ryan.
Bye-bye. I'm going to clap him out. Thank you so much, Ryan. One more comment from David McKenzie. David, if I had an hour, I would invite you on now. I'm not saying you come on, but I would love to engage, but we're sort of, we go a couple hours on Friday nights. So let's stay in contact on Twitter. And I want to keep this conversation going because I really enjoy the way you communicate. It's very clear and concise. I don't always agree with it, but I like knowing the legal part of it.
It's quality. It's quality, right?
It is.
Yeah, you don't agree with it always, but absolutely makes sense.
He replies to his own comment, continues and says, I don't think that public musing is going to another conference is actionable. I do think that providing a landing spot, given the knowledge of the ACC deals, would be actionable. And that obviously is actionable now because Florida State and Clemson now have access to all those, and they're unredacted. So what he's saying is, and we've teased this, somebody leaks at Florida State, somebody leaks at Clemson, this new unredacted information, and then that becomes actionable to go to another conference. I mean, that's like doomsday, isn't it, guys?
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's saying, actually.
Well, I know. So say what he's
What do you
saying.
think, Mo?
He's saying that third-party talks going to another conference is not actionable.
Right.
But he says actually providing them a landing spot, like saying, hey, yes, you have a landing spot here.
Right.
Would be actionable.
But the
and the
bottom
Big 12
line is
wouldn't
that,
do that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Big 12 wouldn't play that game and say, oh, you've got an open invite to the conference, but when they're in
they're
the
not gonna do
ACC,
that.
I mean, the Florida State would come out and they'd be out of the conference through a settlement for an hour, and then all of a
Right.
sudden there would be an offer on the table. I mean, I would be shocked if it's that sloppy.
I
This
think
thing's gonna get cleaned
the
up.
detail is where the devil is. His ACC deals drop in there basically says now that they have access to all that background information that was redacted or hidden that they've never seen before, now that they have that, if they take the information they've gotten from those ACC deals and they go out and do something that's more first person, then that would be then actionable. That would be something they could come after them for because they were doing first person and not third person stuff based on the knowledge they're getting from the contracts. Anyway, we'll have to go into depth with David when he comes on the show with us. I'm just taking it for granted he'll join the show one day, but I can't
hope
wait.
so too. I really do, David. You're welcome here and stuff. We'll listen to your views and stuff. We'll have some good dialogue and everything. So you're totally invited. We'd love to have you on.
Love it very much. Guys, we are 2 hours. We are over 2 hours. And look at this. At the very end, we start getting super chats and more members. Ryan Martin, thank you, Ryan. Again, new member and $5. Thank you, Ryan. At the College Football Mafia asked David how that worked out.
Sorry.
Do it again. Go ahead.
What is that?
I love it. Thank you, Bowen. Ask David how it worked out for the Big 12 when OUUT declared for the SEC. Very similar. We know the Big 12 sued back, but then they settled. So there's not much else there. You know, once they settled, it was over. Nobody's saying the SEC is going to, that Florida State and Clemson are going to settle, though. Or the ESPN will even settle with them. You know. All right. Last thoughts, guys. We're gonna shut this down. We appreciate everybody being here tonight. All the new memberships. 22 is the number. That's crazy. Thank you so much for doing that. All the super chats. We don't count those up while we're doing the show. They don't matter. You guys matter. Your comments matter, and we appreciate them. And so what's your top of mind going into the weekend?
The top of mind right now is for the SEC model. KU's winning 29% to Florida State's 24%, and UNC's 24%.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, UNC is a strong one. So one of those three, put your votes in. Take a look at that tomorrow morning and start the analysis. So
is 3 too many to put in one?
3.
That's a stretch, right?
3's a bit of a stretch.
Okay, let's stick with 2 then.
There's going to be a different format for these videos where there's going to be here's the strongest point for this candidate and the lowest point. So there's going to be a little bit different. We'll feature a team. So whoever wins this first round, one team at a time.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Moen, thoughts going into the weekend?
Adam Antiveros, Ricky Tungate, Mark Bowman, Ralph P., Summit Hawk, Steve Moser, RT, Moen Vision, Crab Cakes and Football, Ryan Martin. Thank you guys for your generosity.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. We'll play you all at Sounder Out. Let's see, maybe this one.
They've been sucking you. They've been sucking you. They've been sucking you.
I think you hit the wrong button. All right.
I hit the wrong button.
I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Friday nights are fun. I hope you had fun. That's our goal. If we pissed you off, please tell us why. We might be able to have a discussion about that. We're not against making people mad, but nobody can accuse us of making stuff up or any of that other garbage that's going around on social media, on YouTube. We do things different. We use data, and then we bring in people who actually knows things. I don't have anything else going into the weekend except for Moen. What's going on Sunday?
Sunday is Moen After Dark at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll have a special guest on there, so stay tuned to Twitter. And in the world of realignment porn, I am Andrew Blake.
Who said that? Tell everybody what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Immaculate, I believe, is the originator of the term realignment porn.
Yeah,
Immaculate came up with realignment porn?
Yes, and then 365 Sports took it and run with it. So
there we go.
That is my industry right now.
Hey,
I've got on my resume. Realignment porn.
You're in the realignment porn business, aren't we?
There you go.
Summit Hawk on his way out gives us another $5 super chat. Thank you, Summit Hawk.
Thank you, Summit Hawk.
Thanks. It's a great show, guys. This was fantastic. They just keep getting better.
Oh, that is brilliant, sir.
I'm sort of addicted right now. I've been on a high this week with all these shows. I might do a show tomorrow.
Okay. Bomber might do that. I will not.
I'm not asking you to. I said I would do a show. If you didn't catch my show last night, after we're done, watch that show I ran last night and tell me I didn't do a great job. All right. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's it. I think we'll close this sucker out. Another Friday, big freaking Friday on the College Football Mafia Football Network. Anything else you guys want to say?
Thank you, Summit, for the super chat. And always
Baylor.
There
you go.
Baylor.
That's what I wanted to say.
Give me a reason. Who said that?
That was Shooter TX.
Oh,
said,
Shooter,
I'm
yeah.
You guys didn't mention Baylor. And I just said Baylor.
I'm sorry.
They've been mentioned.
It's a that's cool. College Football Plus. That's neat. Yeah, I'll do something with that. I just appreciate everybody spending the time with us. This is so fun. And it is realignment porn. Let's be honest. I can be honest with stuff like that. All right, here we go. So we're going to close this sucker out. Watch us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, and then follow us on Twitter. Turn on your notifications so you know when our shows are on. And then, of course, to watch the member videos, you have to be a member. Moen, peace. We're out of here. Everybody have a great night.
Scissor.
See you later. Peace out.